Please welcome our distinguished panelist, Dr. Yahya Al-Hadhrami, Information Security Operational Technology OT Expert, ASYAD Group. Bilal, Shah, Cybersecurity Specialist, Oman Aluminium, Rolling Company, OARC. Mr. Zakriya Al-Balushi, Cybersecurity Specialist, OQ8. Mohammed Al-Araimi, System and Network Security Head, OMIFCO. And Nasser Al-Alawi, Operational Technology Cybersecurity Manager, Oman LNG. And moderating the session, Dr. Haitham Al-Hajri, CISO, Head of Cybersecurity and Information Security, Oman House and Bank. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our panelists.
Good afternoon and welcome to this panel. And let's keep it interactive. And we don't want to stop people from their lunch, so we try to stick to the time. I'm really glad that we have such expertise in this panel today. And we will try to illustrate and share as much knowledge as we can, especially when it comes to OT and AI and how to improve security and overall in our workplace. Of course, today we don't want you to share any sensitive information, but we want to have an insight into your day-to-day tasks and how you could see digitalization has been moved. So, first of all, Dr. Yahya, welcome to the panel. And,
welcome.
We would like to listen from your expertise in the domain. How do you feel in today's world? I mean, today the buzzword is AI. A couple of years back, cloud. Everybody is moving to cloud and cloud first. But OT remains, into the ground. IT and OT somehow have emerged. And now they are interconnected. Not only that, the problem is we're facing today, as you know, in the OT environment, is the introduction of industrial Internet of Things. And they are off the shelf. You can take it and deploy it immediately, and it solves a problem that you have. However, what do you think about the security controls in this area?
Okay. Assalamu alaikum. It's a pleasure and honor to actually be here around renowned expertise. That's a pleasure to me. But let's put things into perspectives. When usually we say IT actually protect data and its data protections, and OT it's more concerns about the availability, safety, and reliability. This is actually it didn't came out of the blue. It's actually
is everybody listening? Okay.
It actually didn't came out of the blue, actually. It is a real things, because in OT, you also add to the mix people safety in that. So this is why usually you actually change the fundamental, how you look security into OTs. In IT, we look at it in different lens. In OT, we look at it in a totally different lens. Now, when it comes to adding the new technology, I know in OT, it is still emerging in terms of adapting to new technologies. But it is emerging, it is happening thanks to the standardizations and to many international incidents that happens in the air-gapped environment. But this actually accelerated the way how we look into security into the OT environment. IoT is still at the current stage, for example, it is used as a sensing mechanisms in the OT sectors, even with their integrations. And we are glad to see that international standards have been actually coping up in terms of adapting to these kind of technologies, emerging technologies like the industrial things, which is a good thing. But when it comes to realities, these kind of industries are a very complex industry to look at them, due to the fact, again, to how we look into safety and reliabilities, and adding into the mix, for example, SIS systems. SIS system is a very complex system to look into. Even small changes into those systems actually can make your industries uncertified, or your certification is actually invalid. So this is why we have to look at carefully. It's due to the fundamental thing how we prioritize securities from IT and OTs. Again, that's fundamental thinkings actually changes how we look into the OTs.
When you talk about the safety, I assume here the safety of the human factor first, right? And the second will be the information. So
yeah, if we look at it, it looks like safety, availabilities, and then reliabilities. When you look in OT specifically, actually this is due to multiple
course,
factors.
critical systems.
It is a critical systems. It means in some cases, actually, for example, what happened in Saudi Arabia with the Triton's malware, for example, it meant that it's a means of life or death. Yeah, because that specific malware was actually designed to make a harm. This is why we look into OT in a totally different perspective. In IT, maybe you will be losing reputation damage, the data itself. But in OT, no, you are actually affecting the physical world. And if there is a possibility of affecting the physical world, you will be adding the environmentals and human factor in that. This is why things get more complex. And
True.
I add to that is actually, we have moved from homogeneous OT environment, I would say, into heterogeneous environments by necessity. We are still, you will see some industry at the current stage, even though we have moved into heterogeneous. Heterogeneous, it means that multiple vendors can communicate together. Homogeneous, it means that it used to be a closed loop systems. They just only communicate within that vendor specifically. But still, if you touch into like industry like shipping, for example, you will see equipments are actually 30 years old.
Of course, they are legacy systems and they are working. Why fix it?
Yeah, exactly. This is the engineering mentalities. They usually looked at it, if it's not broken, do not fix it. And actually they come from a really good reason. It is that it's not broken. Fixing this kind of equipment, first of all, it is costly. It requires very, very special expertise in the fields. So why do you fix it if it's not broken?
Let's put two lines under expertise.
It's not in the market anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's put two lines under expertise, because those systems are 30 years ago. Nobody's an expert on it, or they... Actually, fun fact, talking about legacy system from some of the researchers that I have seen, those old systems, they have a threat called the death of expertise. People who are expert in this, they are dying today.
Exactly.
And nobody is teaching old systems, and they're still in the existence.
Exactly. As Nasser said, actually, some vendors are actually already out of the market.
They don't exist. Yeah, they cease to exist.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things that we need to look at the technologies when we're dealing with legacy systems. They still work. They're doing great. But cost of maintaining it in the longer run, maybe there is a stage where it will come, let's invest in your technology because now it's getting really difficult to get parts. I mean, China is doing great in making parts alive again. But maybe it will come to a point where you not have any parts, and then it's critical systems. Yeah. Let's move to Nasser. I mean, you are in the same field, and you are an expert in OT. But for our audience today, would you like to highlight what IT does and what OT does, and then I will speak about the challenges.
Yeah. So imagine a situation that you are sitting in front of a PC, and you lose, in that moment, you lose the screen. If you are at your home or your office, usually you will call your IT. They will come and try to fix your PC. You might lose connectivity to the internet for, let's say, 1 hour, couple of hours, worst case scenario. But in OT, imagine the same scenario in flight control tower, which is for Oman airport. They will lose all the screen for 2 hours or for 1 hour.
You are blind of any airplane coming in and out of the country.
Exactly. It's very serious, very risky, and the same even for the plant. If we are talking about a plant which is managing oil and gas, high pressure, toxic, we have H2S in some of the areas, which is very toxic, near to the population. If you lose this and you cannot have control, then the disaster will come. So OT mainly focusing on protecting the nation, protecting the people, and of course the safety, because related to it, and all comes. People, sometimes they mixed OT as we are talking about power or energy. It's not. OT is anything with infrastructure, critical infrastructure. Hospitals, traffic lights, telecommunication towers, any critical infrastructures are OT.
So to simplify it to our audience today here, so the IT, information technology, looks at the PCs, looks at connectivities, the network, and so on. When we talk about operation technology, we talk about this giant plants, which requires IT to send information. And then this is the operation technology where things work. And as you said, Trident, other viruses in the world or malicious softwares, they try to target the OT environment to cause damage and harm, which will reach not only technology, but human beings who are working in that factory. As you said, toxic fumes or anything, pressure is going high, you're blind to trains, traffic, ships, aircrafts, they are huge. Moving to Bilal. Bilal, since you are also working in semi-critical industrial systems and in aluminium field, how do you feel the need to secure all those machineries from outsiders? As you know, today, we are big in automation. We would like to get rid of the human factor, and we have bots and machines who work 24 hours. They don't need break. They just need maintenance, and they will work. But the challenge is security, because those machines are connected with each other through Wi-Fi or some sort of connection, but they are connected to a command center. If this command center was leveraged and somebody managed to get in, how do those plants put safety guards, best practices, and where are we there today?
Thank you, Dr. Haitham. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So if I'm coming into any sort of plant in any industry, and they're saying they're starting their OT cybersecurity journey, I would say focus. There's a lot of best practices out there, but if you're just starting out, focus on the 5 critical controls for ICS, right? It's developed by SANS. It's a very good model to start out your OT security. You can start in any order based off of how you assess your organization. But the way I recommend is always start with ensuring that there is no communication, or I can change that into a better phrase, where ensure that there is monitored and the communication that you have is assessed and allowed and risk assessed by your cybersecurity team, right? You want to make sure that you have a secure network architecture for OT, right? Like the IEC 62443 standards are, according to the Purdue model, having zones and conduits, right, where you're monitoring the traffic, segmenting into different layers, right? I think that is very, very important. Ensuring a secure architecture, not only where, a lot of plants now, they're trying to implement direct connection, even sometimes, or OEMs are suggesting direct connections to the cloud, or to enable AI and artificial intelligence, right? So we want to make sure that we are not being, as cybersecurity personnel, we're not being disablers, but enablers for this innovation, but in a secure manner, according to standards and frameworks, right? And then when we're going to network visibility, right, it's very important. We can't protect what we can't see, right? A lot of gaps in visibility in the OT environment. And then when we're going into once we're done with network visibility, having a very good incident response plan is very important. Conducting tabletop exercises is very important in an organization. Understanding your crown jewels, the systems that are critical to your environment, identifying what systems, if there is an incident, can we have downtime, right? Or do we need to conduct incident response on live systems? It's, as Nasser and Yahya pointed out, it's completely different from IT, right? When we're conducting incident response. So if you're just starting out with your OT cybersecurity journey, you should start out. I suggest starting out with the 5 critical controls for ICS. It's going to give you that starting point then to move on to the more complex standards like 62443 and all the other good OT standards out there.
Great. So when we talk about starting or following a guideline, as you said, for SANS, SANS is great. It's been there from the beginning and they know what they're doing. But again, when we want to talk about industrial control systems, from PLCs to actuators to the OT in general, this journey within, for someone who out there want to really understand it deeply, what do you recommend beside going to the top, for example, best practices in the world? Do you think that we need to create our own best practices that meet our need here? Yes, we are using similar technology, the same technology our vendor is selling to the US, to the Europe, and to us. However, some laws and regulation might conflict. What do you think in this area?
Yeah, definitely we shouldn't be looking at these standards as, let me say,
best practices or guidelines.
Yeah, these best practices, these guidelines as, let's say, like a religious book that we have to follow, right? We have to question these regulations, these standards, right, and best practices, and tailor it to our environment. Right, like I said when I was talking about the SANS ICS 5 critical controls, we shouldn't just, you can take it in any order, but it's just there as a roadmap. In some areas it cannot be applied, but you need to assess your organization, conduct a risk assessment, a threat model, and understand if these controls can be applied in your organization. So yes, definitely I agree with you there, Dr. Haitham. We shouldn't be following these standards and best practices as to the T, right, to the letter. But we should be questioning them, but at the same time analyzing them and applying them to our environments in a more informed way.
Can I have just a quick follow-up on the same topic? Having a reference with the best practice is not something bad. Actually, it is the best. Because these industrial standards or best practices, they usually is not a knowledge of one person. It's a collective knowledge of multiple people.
It's an experience.
Exactly. So it's based on an experience. If you open one of the standards like ISA 62443 or ISO, you will see who was contributing to it. It's a huge list of people who contributed to make that standard to the level it reached to us. So again, it is good. It is very important to believe in this standard. But as you rightly said, Bilal, that you need to tailor it for your organization. Customization is important. These standards built for a very generic organization, so it will fit railway, it will fit mining industry, it will fit banking sector in some certain places, it will fit oil and gas or energy sector.
Mostly CNI.
Exactly. So you need to tailor it in a way that it will be suitable for your organization.
Of course. Now, just to top it up, when we talk about custom tailorization of security and information security with the OT, now the challenge is that faces most of the people in the security world that the tangible impact of it. Most people will come and take it for granted and they say, you know what, I will just buy this technology, I will follow this guideline blindly. However, we are not getting the best of it because it's not custom tailored to me. Actually, it's never been made to custom tailor for a specific area. That's why we have industrial control systems are different ball game than other kind of technologies. Now, moving to that, Mohammed, we would like to know from your being in the information security and networking side, and today we are talking about industrial control systems. However, making sure the IT complement the OT and the handshake is merger between them is smooth. What do you think where IT stops and OT starts? And what are your thoughts about the guidelines around the world today? It's important for your organization to be an ISO 27001/22 certified. That certification, what does it bring to you and others when they see that you are certified?
See, if we are speaking about this certification, it is give value for any organization, especially if we for the marketing, for their project and the reliability for this also. If we talk about where is the IT exactly, IT, it is, starting from 3.5, okay, and above for this integration. But OT also starting from 0 and 1, this from the sensor, all that architecture for the OT need to be actually to stop the IT, in our experience, need to be stop this IT to expose OT outside, because, as see, it is more sensitive, critical, and they mention. It is, in case they having downtime and issue, it will be impact too much cost, and it is very crisis sensitive there, because the OT, it is, having legacy system and unsupported system need to be, to make rules there and boundaries to avoid any, this one, any crisis happen or any attacker gains access to the OT to move any laterally and impacted any this is.
So speaking of the attacks and vulnerabilities, what do you think are the top, from your experience being a head of systems and networks, you have seen a lot of challenges. Can you summarize just in a short bit, what are top vulnerabilities in your opinion?
See, actually, as you know, in the OT side, it is different than IT. IT is such, they are understood and we can, there is not impacted like if you go mine side from IoT and OT.
Of course.
OT, it is more crisis. For vulnerability, if we talk now, especially last 3-4 years, a lot of malwares and it is increasing and several attack ways, try to targeting the OT side because to stop, and there is political.
But they cannot target OT without IT.
Yeah, but what we need to do first, for the most vulnerability which are there is I will list it for you some of vulnerability here. It is actually the vulnerability here, unsupported system and legacy system. We cannot avoid this one because this is common in all in organization. But actually there is, vulnerable, so there is remediation for that. To do that remediation, you have to do a virtual batching, for example. Virtual batching, for example, if I have OT and unsupported system, we cannot stop or upgrade one time because downtime it is limited. The availability of OT is high. It should be, to not compromise any
to not
cost.
compromise operations.
What we need to do on this virtual batching, that means either from IBS to block that vulnerability through either endpoint or from firewall or IBS, that signature or the attacker who gain access to this system need to be, blocked. Second thing for the flat network, which is commonly a flat network architecture. Flat network architecture, actually, it is commonly, there is some organization, they are merging, all that SIS, and also DCS with the grid system, okay? Interactive to each other, it is connected to each other, and from this one, in case the attacker gain access from one of these, so he can, move laterally to all this and make more impacted on
but
the OT.
Today there is segregation a lot.
Yes, now this is the mitigation. The mitigation for this, what we need either, as our colleague also mentioned, we need to do implemented network segmentation. This is the one first, make boundaries. Any legacy system, you cannot upgrade it, or there is impact, or there is no from OEM, they are not batched. You need to make secure environment for that. In case the impact, you can limit this impact on the particular, angle, you can say, like this.
Yes, today, segmentation and isolation of systems that have access control to it through technologies that today is available here. And I think we have a couple of partners who is showcasing those technologies. But beside deploying and adapting those technologies, now the gateway to the OT is through the IT. So what the argument is happening in this community, and I think Nasser also has experience with this, that the complementation between IT complementing OT. Some people will say, no, I'm very advocate for OT. Some people say, no, the IT is more important. To me, I think it's a mixture, a balance between IT complementing what the operation technology and making sure that the right traffic, the right access use, the right people are coming there. Even though in some technologies, and correct me if I'm wrong, sometimes the OT will say, let's adapt this industrial Internet of Things item that will make me available and give me an access. However, off-the-shelf kind of product have its limitation. It's very functional, it's very flexible, and we have to adapt technology. But my question to you, you from IT and networking side, would you be accepting somebody bringing something new to that and says, this is a communication between me and you?
No, actually, we need first understand what that technology need and need to be do risk assessment and follow the standards. In the IT standard, somehow there is, from as I mentioned, layer 3, 3.5 above, okay? It is, somehow it is, like ITs, there is some IT work there, okay? But we need to follow the best standard, as I mentioned, IEC 62443, and follow that one. And for publishing, we are actually, this is due to depend on the, actually, to do this integration, for example, with the IT, or need, for example, somebody, they have their use case. This is depend on that 3 pillars, which is, you are accepting the risk in case they got in compromise and the firewall, the malware, it is, moved to the impacted the OT. You need to, to do drill many times, for this incident response to be maturity high. Then you can integrate it. But we are, especially, we are not that maturity level. We can, avoid, to do this integration between IT and OT.
Great.
What we recommended to, at least, somehow, if it's not required, that means there is no use case, no money, it is, you can say the investment, no return on investment, so don't do integration. This is what the best practice.
Great. So integration of new systems or adaptation of a new technology should come after a risk assessment approach, which that indicates what the risks and what the benefits and maybe a SWOT analysis of the technology. And as you said, adapting frameworks that been, as Nasser indicated as well, that they are written and it's a collection of experiences coming from experts in the past who really saw those problems, offered a solution, and going through. Zakriya, from your experience in GRC, Government Risk and Compliance, where do you see an OT environment and IT environment adhering to the best practices in the world, and how it reflects in today's government risk and compliance as you are trying to govern all this information, the technical people who comes and tells you, I need to deploy this solution, but without going back to an actual references and so on. Could you walk us through those challenges? You need to switch it up.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Well, it's very good question for the monitoring and the visibility against the OT environment. However, I want to comment on the on his point. For adapting any technology, we have to follow the standard, yes. But there are two categories that we can have, for example, screening committee for applying any management of change. This management of change will help to understand the impact. What are you applying on the environment? What are you adding? What is the benefits, pros and cons? Also, if the screening committee will take time sometimes because it will be held twice a month, but there is a minor change, then minor management of change, then it will come. This will be like for the small things, which is not having major impact and not affecting the business. Also, there is no financial obligation against the same. Coming to the question,
is financial obligation a critical thing in this area? Like, do you think it's money is gonna be a problem to pass certain policies, procedures, SOPs?
Some controls requires a budget to
enforce.
Yeah. So when it comes, yeah, we can have this change, but we can have it later. This particular state, then they will adapt it.
What about things which are time sensitive? Let's assume, I like to keep it in. Nasser comes to you and he says, I need to deploy this architecture right now and I need the GRC approval from the compliance perspective. The IT says, well, I don't agree with what the OT is doing. It's going to cause a chaos. I'm just making a scenario here. It's not
That's
happening.
very good scenario.
Yeah,
So,
and then Dr. Yahya says, from our perspective, I agree with the OT. We need to do this because it's going to save us not only time, but money, again. And Bilal will come and say, you know what, this is not really happening because we didn't study it enough, and it doesn't mention it in the manual. So what do you think in this kind of sensitive real-life environment? I mean, drills are there to simulate this, but from your perspective.
See, for such emergent or urgent request or change of request, then yes, we can take it, for example, but not in hurry. Nothing can be taken
But
in
it's
hurry.
urgent. Usually,
yes, urgent. You can call for the immediate meeting for the screening committee to align, because we have to align with operation team, maintenance team, for example, the OT team who are taking care about this. Yes, we are a cybersecurity, but we have to align them. We have to understand what they are seeking for, what is the result will be coming after implementing this architecture. If they, for example, if it is requires a financial obligation, then yes, just escalate it for the top management. Then they will have a decision on the
approvals
yeah.
to obtain it from the budget allocation. That's another challenge which we don't have to discuss now.
yeah. So,
Yeah. But from your perspective, do you see this scenario? People from different departments usually when they come and say, well, the compliance is a roadblocker. As a security, I work with compliance, I work with OT, I work with IT, and work with that. And then suddenly the compliance will say, I have not been in this project from the beginning, so I need to take my sweet time. You think we should create some sort of an emergency CR can be approved by only 2 people in this organization higher up, and it's only valid for 2-3 hours or 2-3 days, and then the committee, as you suggested, because I don't want to take the responsibility, it should be in the responsibility of the committee.
Yeah.
Do you think we should work in more agile kind of thing? Because the world now is moving agile.
It should be agile, but still, it is OT. There is nothing, yes, if we said it is air-gapped, but there's no 100% assurance that it is air-gapped. The risk is coming, and the operation team will say that if it is working, don't touch it.
All right, so, Doctor, what do you think about this? And Nasser, I'll come to you.
Well, I must somehow agree with Zakriya in some points, but like, let's put it like this way. There is no thing like one size fits them all. Depending on the industries and how you understand your industries, you can apply. For example, applying a solution that costs half of your budget, for example, for operations, that's going to be an issue. So I think if we look at from the risk-based assessment, if we look into whatever solution you are introducing into the OT environments, again, this is not an easy decision to make. It depends on the industry and how they view it. It's not about like firing your cab every Mondays and you have to update this kind of servers. No, there is a lot of elements are actually involved. Operations, engineers, HSE peoples, managements.
Maintenance teams.
Yeah, OT teams, OT cybersecurity teams.
Yep.
So again, it is not like a normal cabs every Monday that you want to update your servers, just do it and go.
But there are emergency cabs
of course,
that have been taken.
Yes.
But unfortunately,
definitely it goes back to the risk.
yes.
How you assess your risk and how are you going to handle it within your management teams.
Nasser, what do you think about this?
Yeah, actually, it's very important. The question about the GRC and the challenges that OT sometimes face, especially as you know, GRC mainly managed by IT team in all organization, even that. So sometimes you will see the IT team want to use or assess OT using the same standard that they are facing. Let's say ISO 27001. implying the same controls, trying to force the same methodology, even in terms of risk assessment, sometime in a level that, no, we'll do it the IT way. We need to understand that there is a difference. There is, as the doctor mentioned, there is the people element, there is the process element, there's HSC element, there's a lot of things. It's not there, it's not counted for during the normal IT-based risk assessment. So there's a lot of things that we need to make sure to ensure. In terms of making it agile to address these process requirement, any changes in a very dynamic way, considering definitely the risk, and making a clear guideline, a clear process to assess this. So I think this is the way that we need to follow. Customize it, but also keep the cybersecurity there, the element definitely, but not overcoming the security or the safety of the people as well.
Of course, security and the safety comes really first. Let's say safety comes first because it touches the human factor more.
Definitely.
However, also the security of those systems, it's a responsibility. And sometimes, let's give me an example. A security sometimes will conflict with other framework. And sometimes a framework will say, I should use TLS 1.0. But then a security will say, according to our minimum baseline, which we upgraded it just last week, it says TLS 1.3. Then Bilal will come and say, you know what? We can adapt this. And then Mohammed will say, you know, upgrading to this system will cause a lot of CPU usage and high utilization and so on, which maybe impact our OT.
Yeah.
So those kind of up and down stream of technology conflicts. Bilal, what do you think the best resolution in this area?
Yeah, I think if we can put it in one word, awareness, right? Awareness for management, for, as Nasser pointed out, a lot of these frameworks, standards they're trying to apply from IT, they think it's the same.
Exactly.
We need to have that awareness that OT is different. You can sometimes even come into it, people can come in and ask, what is OT, right? They can look at an HMI, and it's a Windows-based system. They can think, okay, this is IT, but this is not IT. This HMI is communicating with the PLC. This is considered OT.
Yeah, but
so
it works in the IT, but it's an OT
exactly,
thing. Yeah.
exactly. So even defining what OT is, we need to have that awareness. And then
To
also
the top management.
exactly, to the management.
Decision makers.
And we always talk about in cybersecurity, it's always people, process, then
And technology.
Yes.
Exactly. So always we need to focus on the people. So having that awareness with management, if someone comes in from IT and saying that, okay, we need to apply these frameworks or there's this regulation, just tell them, wait a minute. Let's
Pump the brakes.
Yes,
Let's discuss
yeah,
it.
pump the brakes.
Who's responsible to actually convey this message to the top management?
So I believe it's our job as cybersecurity professionals, but it can also be anyone. When we talk about people, this is how I approach it where I work. I tell everyone is cybersecurity. So everyone in the company has to have that cyber awareness. And if they
Security culture.
exactly that culture, exactly. So if they see something wrong, point it out. If that person doesn't want to listen, and they need to be trained. Those people need to understand cybersecurity, have that awareness, and then point it out. And if that a person doesn't want to comply or anything like that, escalate it to the right person, right? Build that cybersecurity culture, right? And I think if we can just focus on one thing, is just having that awareness and that cybersecurity culture is very important in this kind of environment.
Mohammed, do you think who's responsible to talk to the top management? You are being ahead, so you speak to top or middle class management. Do you think they need that awareness shot of what's happening within the system?
Actually, the top management, as they mentioned, we should, clear with them and show them what the potential risk on it. Okay, who we should tell? Either, you have, for example, CISO, or you have cybersecurity manager who reporting. He can create a report, and can be understandable non-IT or non-OT technology or non-technical. So it is understandable report for them, and to convey them and do the awareness. Actually, awareness should be also started from operator till management. And for each operator, for each level, there are, particular topics, need to be having a session for them, But the management actually should be the who responsible. For example, cybersecurity manager, he have to, for example, if there is no, compliance there or regulator or somebody there, he have to go take the report to the top management, and show them simply, this is the impact will be. And this is the, for example, if we investment this one, this is the return on investment will do this one. If we, for example, if there is any potential impact will come, so in case, and will cause the trip for that plant, you have to give them multi-options.
Usually within organization, it's the compliance office that really insists in establishing security culture. From your experience, like from being governance risk and compliance officer, conveying this message to the top management, is it higher up in the agenda, or do you think sometimes they just neglect it?
It is very difficult to convey this to the higher level management, but however, we have to show them the risk factors that, because they understand the business, they understand the revenue, they understand the investment they have, put inside this plant or OT, the whole refinery or whatever. So if they came to know that there is loss calculated by this number of millions USDs, for example, then they will come to understand.
So you speak the numbers language to the
yes,
top management.
they have to understand the risk factors in terms of numbers. Then if we say to them, you are getting, talking to them like you are getting a ransom attack, they don't understand. They don't understand this language.
But if you tell them you're going to lose 10 million, they understand that.
Yeah, they will come to know. They will come to know the value of implementing the controls.
Great. So it's really an interesting panel. I would like, on behalf of the organizers today, to thank you all. I would love to ask more questions. Believe it or not, the session has come to an end, but I believe that we will meet again in another panel. We'll discuss another angle of this ongoing challenge. But thank you for being here, Dr. Yahya and Nasser and Bilal and Mohammed, Zakriya. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. I don't know if we can take a question from the crowd today, or we don't have the time. Yeah, sorry for that, but the guys are here. You guys are welcome to talk to them, open a discussion, ask some questions. Thank you very much.